Hi fellow booktubers, my name is Jocelyn, new to the booktube community. I couldn't wait to join. I actually was planning to start in January of 2021 as like a fresh start, but with being home for, this will be my second week, I'm going a little crazy and I have nobody to talk to about the books that I'm reading. I don't know many other people who enjoy reading, so this is my way of getting to recommend books, also take from you guys, and I hope that you are as receptive as I am expressive. This whole quarantine has been actually honestly not so rough on me because I am a huge introvert. I like to be home. My fiance is losing it, but we're doing okay. Like, I am cool staying home and reading books all day. So, and that's pretty much what I've been doing. So I have a lot to share with you guys, and I hope that you like my channel. And I figured the first thing I could do to kind of give you guys a little bit of an insight into what I enjoy. I thought of a really cool book tag that hopefully gets spread, and that's the name tag. And so what I did is picked for each book, for each letter of my name. Some of them I had a little trouble with because I don't have a lot of books that begin with N, and my name is Jocelyn. It's really long. So I have 9 books to share with you. And then I figured I'd end the video with my favorite book of 2019. We'll start it with the letter D, and that's Daisy Jones and the Six, which so far is my favorite read this year. I absolutely love this book, and I've noticed that anything that's in Reese's book club I've pretty much loved. So Daisy Jones and the Six is about Daisy. She is a singer for rock and roll in the 70s. It's about her journey and how she met the group called The Six, the band, and how they got together and how they created awesome music together. And Daisy is pretty much like a rock god of the 70s, and being that it's from the 70s, it's about drugs and sex and love lost and love gained, and it's told in an interview format, which is super cool. And if you are interested in audiobooks, which I absolutely love audiobooks, this is a full cast, so I highly recommend both the book and the audiobook. This is by far my favorite book of the year so far, and that's my D. R is the next letter in my name, and that is, I didn't read this year, I read it a while ago, but it's Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. I'm sure a lot of you love this book. This is dystopian YA sci-fi, and it's about the year 2044, the world that's built up in this oasis, which is an online virtual reality that they go to for school and for entertainment. This is about a video game that's been put in place for someone to find the Easter egg and win the whole loot of the video game because the creator has passed on. And it's talking about a small town kid who doesn't have a lot of money, and he tries to win. It's a really good story. I highly recommend it. This is one of my favorites, and definitely my favorite dystopian. The next letter in my name is O, so I went with the 1. I just read this back in January, and I'm actually going to talk about this more in another video that I want to post. And it's by John Mars, and it's a sci-fi romance thriller novel. It kept me really entertained. It was a very quick read. There's 5 different perspectives, and it's basically about a DNA test that was established that it hooks you up with your soulmate or your match. You get to know the characters, which is really fun. And it talks about their journey in finding their one, and there's just some really cool things that happen, and the ending is really cool also. So I highly suggest picking this one up. Next letter in my name is S, so we're going with Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. This is actually a lot shorter than I thought it was. I bought this at a used bookstore. I listened to the audiobook of this. I haven't actually read this. And it was given to me by my boss, who had suggested that I listen to it through Audible. And now I use strictly my library because I don't like paying for Audible anymore. So Sharp Objects was... there's a lot of freaky stuff that happened in this, but also a lot of like weird characters. Like, everybody in this book is kind of tapped, but it was very entertaining, And like I said, it was a quick read. I don't even think, this is less than 300 pages. The ending gave me a pretty good shock. I really enjoyed it. And I'm in the minority group who did not enjoy Gone Girl. I know that's an unpopular opinion. I definitely like this one better. And I'm glad I read this one first, because had I read Gone Girl first, I wouldn't have picked this one up. I don't have anything that begins with L, but I have The Last Mrs. Parrish, so that counts, by Liv Constantine. Oh, and her name begins with L. And I actually found this one in one of those community libraries outside of someone's house, and I just picked it up on a whim. I can't remember why. I think it was because the R looked like a knife, and I was like, oh, this has got to be a thriller, and I loved it. It was so intriguing. The ending was great, or the like middle to ending, but also the ending. I love this book, and I highly recommend it to everybody who wants a good thriller, domestic thriller. Yes, this was by far one of my favorite books of last year. Hi guys. I was doing my March wrap-up, and I realized that I did not talk about You Are Not Alone yet, and I was totally supposed to in this video because of my name tag, and I'm missing the letter Y. So if you want to hear about that book, just hop over to my March wrap-up. It will be in there. I apologize. So I have two N's in my name, and I only have one book with an N in the title. So I'll do that one first, and that's No Exit by Taylor Adams. I really like this book. I think I talk about this in another video. And it was what I thought was supposed to be a thriller. It's very suspenseful, lots of action. About like more than halfway through is all action, because you find out who did what in the early stages of the book, which I wasn't really a fan of. This book is about a college student who goes off to visit her mother who's sick, and on her way there's a bad snowstorm. She gets trapped in a truck stop, and while she's in said truck stop, she sees a van parked next to her that has a cage with a little girl in it, and it's like, who did it and what are you gonna do? And so most of the book is about what are you gonna do. And let me tell you, this girl has really bad luck. I'll just say that much and leave it at that. So for the next N, it's actually U, but whatever, we'll count it. And that's The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. This was so highly recommended by Gabby from Gabby Reads. And I did love it. She was right. And this is my first Christina Lauren. I am currently reading my favorite Half Nightstand, I think it's called. I really enjoyed it. It was a quick read. It was fun. It was flirty and entertaining and sweet. And sometimes in the midst of all the thrillers that I read, you need a little palate cleanser, and that's exactly what this did for me. And the last letter in my name is E. We're almost done, guys. And that is, this is actually the very first memoir I read, if you don't count high school stuff. My very first audiobook, and my very first adult book. I read this when I was 18, when I was very big on young adults, or even like new adult genre, which there weren't a lot of when I was 18. So this was very, very different, very out of my element, and very serious. And this is also in a time in my life where I had a big decision to make, and that was either stay in Massachusetts, where I was born and raised, or move to Texas, where half of my family was, and I decided to up and move to Texas, and it's because of this book that I made that decision, and I do not regret it for a second. It taught me many, many things, led me down many roads that led me to where I am now. So I'm happy for that. I am back in Massachusetts, if you didn't know. But this book definitely brought me on the journey that I needed at that young age, and if I hadn't, I wouldn't be where I am today. So that is Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. And I know, again, this is a very unpopular opinion. I can't say enough good things about it, and I know so many people are so not into it. But the fact that I was 18 years old, a young, impressionable woman, and a 30-year-old who had written this book made me change my life. And that was a big moment, but also very exciting to me. And I remember listening to this audiobook on my way to classes. And I would take like night classes, so it was really, really late. I was working 2 jobs at the time, and going to school full time. and I was absolutely miserable. And yeah, this book just, I remember listening to it on my way to school, and I just loved it, and it was so inspiring. And it actually inspired me to go pick up Italian literature and Italian audio translation so I can learn how to speak Italian, and it made me want to eat spaghetti all the time. And the movie was just great, and so this book was very inspiring for me, and this actually like kickstarted that time of reading for me, because I read a lot when I was a young teenager, and then I stopped for a very long time, and then I picked it up for a very long time, and it's been off and on all my life, depending on what's going on in my life and how I'm feeling. But yes, this was the book that will forever go down in history as one of my favorites, and still my favorite movie to this day. So that's the E in my name, and that ends my name. And I'll just end this video. Favorite book for last year. And this has remained my favorite book from last year, but I haven't reread it yet. So the 2 books that I loved last year, I reread, and I wasn't as in love with them as I was before. So I don't know if I reread this one, I'll feel the same way. But I still, as far as I know, this is my favorite book of 2019, and that's Verity by Colleen Hoover. Now, I have never read Colleen Hoover, never heard of her until this book came out, and I think it's because it was on Goodreads as one of the top thrillers of 2019, and I heard a couple people talking about it on their booktube channels, and it's about an author who is unable to finish her series, and so they her and her husband hire out another author to write or finish the series for her while she cannot perform. So she moves into her house, gets to know her family, and also finds a memoir written by Verity that she wasn't really supposed to find, or maybe she was, we don't know. So she started reading that while she's also like rummaging around her office to find her notes on the series that's supposed to be finished. And you get a really big inside look of who Verity is, and that's where things start to get creepy. Start to get creepy around the house, start to get creepy with the husband and her child, and also within her story. So there is a story within a story, but it's a memoir, so it's a little bit different than like Misery or Fangirl or Eliza and Her Monsters. It's a little bit different than that. So I highly recommend this book. It was my favorite, and it was super creepy, and I loved it, and yeah, it was just really, really good. Those are most of my favorite books. Definitely Daisy Jones and the Six, Eat, Pray, Love, The Last Mrs. Parrish, Ready Player One, and Verity. Those are definitely like my top books that are on my shelf. And yeah, I hope that gives a little bit of insight in who I am, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and maybe tag it and do one for yourself so I can get to know you as well. Alright guys, stay safe, stay inside, read more. Bye guys.